Hello everybody, today is 19th of March. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Now guys, first of all, let's have a look on today's GS folder. Today we'll take a quote from father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. He had talked about the democracy. He says, democracy is an impossible thing until the power is shared by all. But let not democracy degenerate into mobocracy. So democracy is giving the ultimate power into the hands of the people. But if the mob is given the entire mandate to rule, it will lead to the tyranny of the majoritarianism, and into that particular thing, the minorities, the vulnerables, they will be exploited, and the democracy will be worse than the dictatorship. So such kind of safeguards are always to be there into the democracy. So that is all about the idea here. Guys, please do utilize it into the questions related to the GS paper number 2 as well as into the essays. So that is all, and now let's take the newspaper analysis in detail. Now guys, taking up the first article, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper and it talks about the electoral issues and therefore will be important for our GS paper number 2 related questions. Now guys, here the Supreme Court had said that they will soon be hearing the plea against the sale of electoral bonds. Now, before going into the details of this particular article, let's see some of the basic information. Now guys, when we talk about the electoral bonds, they were introduced for the first time into the Finance Act of 2017, where government provided that it aims to clean the electoral funding into the elections. Now guys, let's see a brief overview that how these electoral bond functions. Now, first of all, there will be the designated banks which will be given the mandate that they can issue the electoral bonds. Now guys, any person or any corporate who wants to wish to fund to any political party will approach this particular bank and will give them money. Now money can be given either into the form of a check or into an electronic mode, and once the money will be given, the bank will issue the electoral bond of the equivalent amount. Now this electoral bond, this person or this particular company will give to the political party, and that political party can redeem that electoral bond into their bank account. Now guys, into this entire process there will be the anonymity. First of all, onto this electoral bond there will be no name written that which person or which corporate has given the donation. Moreover guys, there has also been one particular exemption that under the Representation of People Act 1951, the political parties also need not to disclose that who had given the money via the electoral bond. So there was huge anonymity into this entire process. Now the government gave the logic that deliberately this anonymity has been given because they want to save the people from the political victimization. Often it has been seen that the people who are donating to a particular party, they have been penalized. Let's understand this particular thing also by the help of an example. Suppose this is Mr. A, and Mr. A believes into the ideology of the XYZ political party, and therefore he made the donation of 1 crore rupee to the XYZ political party. Now guys, let's suppose that on contrary, XYZ political party did not won, rather than the ABC political party won. And now when they will be knowing that Mr. A has not donated to them, rather to other adversary party, they will directly or indirectly will try to penalize this particular person, and it is the political victimization. Now it has been said that this thing will be avoided. Moreover guys, it was said that the electoral bond scheme will serve another purpose also. It was often seen that the cash payments or cash donations were made to the political parties. Now guys, earlier the limit was 20,000, then later it was reduced to 2,000, but still when the cash money is being given, then again there is large number of problems because the black money can etc be given by the way of cash. It was said that into the electoral bond scheme no cash can be endorsed. Entire payment will be made either by the check or into the electronic mode. So such problem will also be solved. So guys, this was the entire rationale of the electoral bond scheme. Now guys, over the period of time, some of the amendments have also been done into the electoral bond scheme. Let's first of all understand these amendments also. See, earlier it was said that any political party, it can donate maximum 7.5% of their net profits into the past 3 years into a donation to a political party. Suppose guys, there is one particular company, the name of a company is PQR Corporation. Into last 3 years, average profit that they had made is 100 crore rupees. So maximum 7.5 crore rupees of donation, maximum amount they can give. Now into the last few years, this 7.5% limit has been removed. If they want even the 100 crore rupees entire profit, they can also donate. Now it has been observed that this particular thing has lead to many of the problems. Now what are the problems? Number one, there are the shell companies which are being formed. Now these shell companies are the bogus or the dummy companies. They are just being formed to funnel their black money or for the money laundering purposes. Now these shell companies, they are parking their money into the electoral bond. They are giving them to the political parties so that later words they can enjoy the political patronage. Such kind of thing has happened. And guys, such thing has also been observed by both the Election Commission as well as Reserve Bank of India, and had requested that the electoral bond scheme should be halted. We can see this thing that the Election Commission in 2017 and RBI also in 2017 had objected to the electoral bonds. And therefore, on to this particular line, when the government did not did anything, the Association of Democratic Reforms, which is an NGO, you might have many a times heard its name. For example, when we see the criminalization of politics, we see that into the present Lok Sabha, the 43% of the legislators, they are having the criminal cases pending. So such data has been given by the ADR only. So ADR had made a plea into the Supreme Court that there needs to be a stay onto the sale of electoral bonds, and now this particular plea will be heard by the Supreme Court, because guys, the electoral bonds are going to be on sale because of the assembly elections that are coming into the Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, etc. So guys, this is the entire matter, and it is a very crucial dimension into the electoral politics into the context of India, and a very important thing in GS paper number 2. So that is all, and now we'll move to the next article. Guys, this article has been taken from the Indian Express, and it will be important for our GS paper number 3. It talks about the Insurance Amendment Bill 2021, which has been passed into the Rajya Sabha. Now guys, the Insurance Amendment Bill 2021 aims to increase the foreign direct investment into the India into the insurance sector. Right now, the FDI stands at 49%, and by this particular amendment bill, it is increased to the 74%. Now guys, this is the third time that an amendment into the Insurance Act of 1938 has been done, particularly to increase the FDI limit. The first amendment was done in 2002 when FDI into the insurance sector was increased to 26%. After that, the second amendment was done in 2015 when it was increased to 49%, and now in 2021 it is being increased to the 74%. And the government has given reason that into India, first of all, there are no large number of insurance products because the expertise of the Indian insurance players have been very much limited. Now as the foreign players will be coming into the insurance sector, they will provide a wide array of insurance products, and at the end of the day, insurance penetration in India will be increased. Secondly, it has also been seen that the capital with the Indian insurers is very much limited, and by the foreign direct investment, that capital will also be increased. And thirdly, it has been provided that it will further liberalize the entire insurance sector. Now guys, there have been many of the criticisms onto this move of the government also. First criticism has been that bill should have been referred to a standing committee, but it's such kind of thing has not been done, and it is not new. Into the past, it has been seen that many of the crucial bills are not being referred to the standing committee, and therefore much of the brainstorming are not being done into the key legislations. Secondly, it has been seen that guys, into the India, when we talk about the insurance, LIC is a major player. First of all, government is diluting the stakeholding into the LIC by the privatization, and secondly, as FDI is also coming, the LIC, which is the insurer to the poor people, it will cease to be there. Thirdly, it has been seen that into the insurance, as right now the LIC is a government entity, the reservation policy is also functional, and therefore the people from scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and OBCs, they are getting the jobs into the LICs. But once the FDI will be coming and major shareholding will be from foreign as well as from private, then such kind of thing will cease. Then fourthly, it has been provided that insurance is a crucial aspect of a financial sector of India, and Giving such a substantial say to the foreign players might lead to some of the implications into the times to come. So therefore there were large number of criticisms into the Rajya Sabha, but despite of that particular thing, bill has been passed into the Rajya Sabha. Further, there are some other criticisms also. For example, it has been said that what will be done onto the issue of bankruptcy. If some foreign player who is into insurance sector declares bankruptcy into the later words, what will be the safeguards? Then guys, secondly, it has been said that though earlier government provided 49% of FDI, but this particular limit has also not been exploited up till now. It has not been fulfilled. Then what is the rationale of increasing it to 74%? Now guys, government had just provided a justification on one front, and the government justification is this, that under the new structure the majority of directors onto the board as well as the key management persons, they have to be compulsorily be the residents of India, and therefore the accountability will be ensured. So guys, this is all about this particular legislation and the amendments which are being made. So that is all about this particular article guys. It could be an important aspect for your GS paper number 3, and even the direct question can be asked onto this particular line, so please keep it into your mind. So that is all, and now we'll move to the next article. Friends, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it talks about the substantial reforms that are underway by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. Now, guys, this article can be utilized in your GS paper number 3, where the infrastructure development has been mentioned. Now, it has been provided that the government is actively working so that the roads can be freed of all the toll booths in a year. Now guys, you might have been seen that at the various intersections there are the toll booths for the toll collection, and when the vehicles have to stop here, it leads to many of the problems. Number one, the time is wastage, and every year millions of man hours are wasted here. Secondly, the fuel is also wasted, and for the cargo trucks this particular wastage is very much substantial. And thirdly, it also obstructs the ease of transportation. So what has been done? It has been provided that these physical toll plazas will be removed and GPS imaging will be used for the toll collection. Now guys, how it will exactly be working? See, the transportation vehicles, they will be fitted with a GPS instrument, and that GPS instrument will be giving the coordinates of this particular vehicle when it is moving, and when it will go into the territory where the toll is applicable, then onto the basis of that particular coordinate, automatically the money will be deducted from a wallet that will be linked to the vehicle. And this particular reform will be bringing the substantial improvement on all the fronts. The time will be saved, the fuel will be saved, as well as the ease of transportation will also be ensured. Now guys, you might be knowing that the vehicles presently for the toll collection, they are using the fast tag, and according to the Union Ministry of Road Transport and Highway, it has been provided into the Lok Sabha that 93% of the vehicles, they have been fitted with the fast tag, and the tolls are being collected via the fast tag, which is a kind of an RFID tag. And after its success, the next step is the GPS toll collection. After that, the other reform is also coming via the Ministry of Road Transport, that is the vehicle scrapping policy. Now it has been provided that because the old and obsolete vehicles, they emit more pollution, they emit more PM 2.5, and it creates many of the air pollution problem. Guys, you might be knowing that recently it has been said that out of 30 most polluted cities, the 22 are into the India. So onto that particular front, it has been provided that after every 20 years for the private vehicles, and for 15 years, after 15 years for the commercial vehicles, a fitness test will be carried, and if they fail onto that fitness test, it will be assumed that the end of life of the vehicle has come, and then that vehicle has to be mandatorily scrapped. And for the government and PSU vehicles, it has been said that mandatorily after 15 years they have to be discarded. Now this particular thing will be helping on many of the fronts. Number one, it will enhance the demand for the newer vehicles, and then there will be a jump that will be coming into the turnover of the automobile into India. Right now there are 4.5 lakh crore turnover, and it will increase to 10 lakh crore turnover when this vehicle scrappage policy will be implemented. Then secondly, it has been provided that it will also help to reduce the pollution. Now guys, for this particular policy, government is also very actively working and had also designed the schemes. For example, the owners which are going for the scrapping of their vehicle, they will be given the concession into the road tax for the new vehicle. And into this particular direction, already the advisory has been given to the state governments that they give 25% rebate into the road tax for the personal vehicles, as well as the 15% of the rebate into the road tax for the commercial vehicles. Then further, even more concessions are underway. It has been provided that the government is also thinking to waive off the registration fees onto the new vehicles if they scrap their old vehicles. And further, the directives have also been given to the automakers that they give a rebate of 5% if the owners they produce a vehicle scrappage certificate. So guys, these are all the reforms that are into this particular line. So that is all about this article, and now we'll move to the next article. Now, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and here we can see that the Justice Raman, he had talked about some of the reforms into the judicial processes. Now, guys, right now, the Indian judiciary's biggest problem is the huge judicial backlog. Right now, more than 4 crore cases are pending across the different courts, and it leads to denial of the justice because over and over years the litigation continues because the capacity is simply not there. Now guys, here the Justice Raman has given some of the recommendations. Now first of all, the Justice Raman, he is next in the line to be the Chief Justice of India onto the basis of the seniority norms. He had said that the 3 most important reforms are to be carried. Number 1, judicial infrastructure is to be improved through the use of e-platforms, as into the times of pandemic large number of e-platforms have been utilized. After that, setting up of more physical courts are to be taken up. Then thirdly, it has been provided that the disputes are to be settled at the pre-litigation stage, that is before they are turning into the court, and here the alternative dispute resolution mechanism is to be used. And further, even government should come out with the schemes where the ADR is encouraged. So guys, these are some of the suggestions that has been given. Now, though the suggestions have not been very much revolutionary, they are very generalistic, but guys, even if a question comes, you can give the reference of the Justice Raman into this particular line, and it will give more authenticity to your answers. So that is all about this article, and now we'll move to the next article. Guys, this article has been taken from the Indian Express, and it talks about some of the challenges into the lateral entry system. Now, it has been said that administrative reforms in India are long overdue, and due to that thing, there is huge frustration also which is piling up, and that thing has also been seen a couple of weeks ago when the Prime Minister lashed out the bureaucrats into the India. Now guys, it has been provided that one line of reforms into the administration is giving the lateral entry. Now you might be knowing that lateral entry is a system where we call the fresh talent, particularly from the private sector, into the higher senior position so that they can bring up new energy, new out of the box solutions, etc. Now guys, when we talk about lateral entry, into the past 2 to 3 years, much of the work has been done. For example, 8 professionals have been recruited for the joint secretary level position into the various ministries, and now guys, presently also many of the positions have been advertised at the joint secretary and the director level. But there are certain challenges into the proper implementation of the lateral entry, and if these challenges are not addressed, much of the respite cannot be achieved here. The first challenge is with respect to the age and term. Now guys, first of all, let's understand some of the basic dynamics. Now see, the people into the IAS, when they are promoted to the joint secretary level, it usually happens when they have completed 17 years of their job. So typically it means that around the age of 45, a person reaches to the joint secretary position. Now guys, if the same age, that is the 45 years old people, will be appointed by the government through the lateral entry, it is very less likely that much of the people will be coming forward, because around this particular age into the private sector, they will be reaching to the positions of CEO, etc. So therefore, we need to allow people of younger age, like say 35 years, to apply to the lateral entry from the private sectors, because only then the jobs will be much lucrative. Then the guys, next thing that is to be kept into the mind is to give the important and good portfolios where the success is relatively high to the lateral entrant so that they can be retained. Now guys, it has been provided that there are several joint secretaries in each ministries, and they handle the different portfolios. I told you a couple of minutes back that recently government appointed the 8 joint secretaries. Now guys, all these 8 joint secretaries who have been brought by lateral entrants, they have not been given the critical portfolios, and one entrant has already quit. So in order to retain them, important portfolios are to be given. Then guys, the third issue that comes here is that there needs to be a clarity that what is the mandate for the lateral entrants, what will be their responsibilities, what will be their role. It is needed to be clearly defined. Moreover, it has also been provided that government needs to bring more and more lateral entrants at the all level of ministry, because if there are just one or two or three, then they will be seen as outsiders and their decisions will not be fully be taken up. So there needs to be more hiring of the lateral entrants so that they are not a minority and they are not always overridden. Then further it has been provided that the lateral entrants are to be given much of the time into the ministries so that they can learn all the dynamics and can take the meaningful decisions. So guys, these are some of the aspects with respect to the lateral entry that is to be kept into the mind if government is going forward with this idea. So guys, that is all guys. It is highly important for your both GS paper number 2 as well as GS paper number 4. That is all, and now we'll move to the next article. Guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper and it talks about Aadhaar issue into the recent cancelling of the ration cards. Now guys, yesterday, that is into the 18th of March newspaper analysis, already we have taken up this entire issue. You can watch if you have missed it. So guys, that is all about this article, and now we'll move to the next article. Guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper and it talks about the shortcomings of the teachers' education in India. We can utilize this article as a case study into GS paper number 2 related answers onto the education. Now, it has been provided that in India, there are 9 million teachers in 1.5 million of the schools. So, therefore, the pedagogical skills of these teachers, teaching abilities of these teachers becomes very much important. And therefore, here comes the importance of the teacher education in India. Now guys, number one, there are very less number of teachers education institutions. It has been found by a study conducted by the Azim Premji University that only 17,500 teachers education institutions are there in India, and more than 90% of them are privately owned. And guys, there are just 4 states, that is the Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, where all these 54% of teachers education institutions are there. In other states, there are very less teachers education institutions. Only 12 states and union territories are there where at least one teacher education institution is there into the each district. Moreover, there is huge corruption into these institutions and they have turned just as a commercial shops. The classes are not being conducted regularly, neither they are being taken up by the students. The students are being allowed to appear into the examination even when the attendance is not there. Moreover, the basic skills are not being imparted to them, and into this particular capacity guys, the actual quality of the teachers will be very much substandard and they will not be able to effectively teach to the children into the school, and it will effectively be crushing all the targets that have been taken up into the new education policy of 2020. So therefore guys, government as well as the Ministry of Education needs to give much of the importance onto the importance of the teachers education as well as onto the institutions that are imparting the education. So that is all guys, please do utilize it as a case study, and now we'll move to the next article. Guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper and it talks about the stereotyping of the women into the judiciary. Now guys, the Supreme Court has issued a judgment where it has said to the judges into the higher courts as well as into the other tiers of judiciary that they not fix the stereotypes with the women. For example, into the past guys, even we have taken one entire editorial where it has been seen in large number of cases that such kind of stereotypes have been made. It has often been said that, for example, the good women are sexually chaste, the women who drink and smoke, they ask for sexual advances. It has been said that the women who are sexually active, they always give consent to the rape. Moreover, the heinous crime of rape has often been very much normalized. For example, the judges have often said that the offenders can be given a bail if they perform the community services or if they get a rakhi tied onto their hand by the women to whom they have raped. The Supreme Court has said that such kind of precedences and rulings are very much retrograde. And now this particular ruling has kept aside a ruling by the bench of a Madhya Pradesh High Court, where the High Court granted the bail to a suspected molester if he visited the victim's home and allow her to tie a rakhi to him. Now it has been said that such judgments reflect an entrenched paternalistic and misogynistic attitudes towards the women even after the 70 years have been passed since the India became republic. It has been believed that a woman cannot be herself in the society of the present day. It is dependent onto the masculinity of a society, and the standards set by it have to be accepted by the women. Such kind of observations have been made. Guys, one very good observation has also been made. It has been provided that judges should not fall into the trap of stereotyping, because the address which is being made by a judge is not limited to the parties, but rather it extends to the entire community as a whole, where the lawyers, judges, legal academics, law students, and the public at large is also there. So guys, this is all about this particular direction given by the Supreme Court, and it is a very progressive judgment in terms of wording that has been chosen. So friends, that is all about the today's newspaper analysis. I hope that you have understood it. Thank you so much.